can!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net.
Nice one.
Straight down the middle.
Hi, you're watching First Sports. I'm Rupha Ramani. It's a festive day. Let's get started. On the show today is the England men's cricket team being targeted a bit too much. Former Aussie Darren Lehmann certainly thinks so, but is this view balanced, or does England deserve all the additional scrutiny coming their way post the Noosa episode? The AFCON has just kicked off, and as always, there is a lot of drama, excitement and magic, but a sentiment that is only gaining strength is that the world does not view AFCON with the same level of reverence that they would any other big tournament elsewhere. Is that so? And I'll tell you why this would be a huge mistake. And Formula One season is over, but we're still keeping tabs here. Who were the top earners at the end of this season? And where does Lewis Hamilton feature in that list after what's been a horrid year for him with Ferrari? But first, the headlines on Sports 360. Starting with football, Cameroon made a winning start to their AFCON campaign. The five-time winners beat Gabon 1-0. Etayong scored the only goal of the match. They next face Ivory Coast on Monday. On to cricket, Bihar smashed the list A record for highest team total during a Vijay Hazare fixture. The Indian side recorded 574 runs, with Vaibhav Suryavanshi scoring 190. They beat Arunachal Pradesh by a massive margin of 397 runs. This is the second highest win margin in terms of runs in List A cricket. English football club Swansea's celebrity rush continues. American television personality Martha Stewart has become the latest co-owner of this club. Stewart will join rapper Snoop Dogg and footballer Luka Modric as a minority owner of this Welsh club. And Norway's Olympic hopeful Sivert Guthrum has died at the age of 27. The biathlete was in contention to make the national team for the 2026 Winter Games. During the training camp in Italy, the athlete was found dead in his hotel room. The Norwegian had been diagnosed with a heart disease back in 2022. This Christmas hasn't been merry for everyone, because while the rest of the cricketing world is gearing up for Boxing Day, England are still unwrapping the consequences of the Adelaide Test. The Ashes may have 2 tests still left, but England's biggest battle right now is with their own image. A drinking spree ahead of a must-win match has put this English side under a microscope. And now, just when the criticism seems unanimous, an unexpected voice has come out in their defence. An Australian former coach, Darren Lehmann, believes England are being unfairly targeted. So is Lehmann right, or is English cricket finally being held accountable for standards that have slipped far too often? Let's rewind to when England collapsed yet again in Adelaide. And even before the postmortems really began on what else has gone wrong, the headlines were dominated by what happened in Queensland. Ahead of a do-or-die test, England players were spotted drinking at Noosa on the Sunshine Coast, and that image didn't really go down that well. Yet Darren Lehmann sees it differently.
I would defend them a bit, because that's just out of order. They are running a campaign against them almost, and now Rob Key is doing a review. They are professional athletes, and they are well behaved from what I saw.
Now, Lehmann insists the players didn't cross the line, that they were well behaved, and he strongly feels England are being targeted unfairly. But here's the problem with this. Perception matters, because Lehmann may be an Australian, but he's currently head coach at English County Cricket Club Northamptonshire. So it is difficult to perceive him going against this ecosystem, an ecosystem that he himself is now part of. Because here's the truth, no matter what anyone says, the visuals told a rather disturbing story. Now, let's be absolutely clear, this is not a moral lecture. Athletes are human beings, they deserve a downtime, they deserve space to unwind. No one is saying sports persons should live like monks. That's where professionalism comes into question. Taking ownership of one's act, even if the scoreline had been different. The lack of respect shown by this English side would have still been the headline. And this time, even England's own leadership didn't really defend them.
Drinking excessive amounts of alcohol for an international cricket team is not something that I'd expect to see at any stage. I'm not a drinker. I think a drinking culture doesn't help anyone in any stretch whatsoever.
He said drinking culture doesn't help. In other words, standards were breached, and this isn't a one-off. This has become a recurring theme now. England have lost control of the narrative. Bazball was sold as freedom with responsibility, but increasingly it's looked like freedom without any sense of accountability. Aggressive shots without match awareness, bold statements without the results coming in, relaxed environments without the hard questions being asked. And when results don't follow, questions will only get louder. That's why this backlash persists. Not because England lost, but because England doesn't seem to think much of it and comes across just as unbothered as they were before the series even began. Yes, you could say optics, but I say a lack of awareness. And this debate has now opened the doors to something even bigger. Should there be a difference in coaching personnel now?
I think Ravi Shastri should become England's next head coach. You have to think, who exactly knows how to beat Australia? How do you take advantage of Australia's weaknesses, mentally, physically and tactically?
At first glance, it sounds rather absurd, an Indian coach leading England. But maybe this does make some sense, because numbers, they don't lie. Ravi Shastri was coach at a time when overseas wins were built on mental toughness and adaptability. Shastri didn't win by reckless aggression. He won by controlled intensity, by understanding the conditions, by demanding discipline, by backing players but also challenging them. That's the difference really, because real aggression isn't to slog at every opportunity you get. Real aggression is patience under the pressure, intent without indiscipline. Under McCullum, England failed to beat India at home. Now they're struggling to beat Australia in Australia. So maybe the issue isn't courage, it's just control. Darren Lehmann isn't entirely wrong. England don't deserve a witch hunt here, but they do deserve scrutiny. Because standards matter in elite sport. You can lose matches, you can lose an entire series too. But when professionalism dips, when accountability fades away, the backlash is inevitable. This isn't about alcohol consumption. It's about a culture that's slipping away from England. The Africa Cup of Nations is off to a flying start. Drama, intensity, near upsets, underdogs roaring on the biggest stage. Old giants are fighting for relevance. New forces announcing their arrivals. In just a few days, AFCON has delivered everything that football promises. But despite the quality, despite the passion, AFCON is still not being treated like a marquee global football event. And this time, it's not just about TV ratings or lazy criticism. Players themselves are saying it out loud. Is global football making a mistake by sidelining Africa? Now, Africa may not sell football with the same sheen as Europe does. No billion-dollar marketing gimmicks here or machinery in place. No weekly hype cycles driven by broadcasters. But Africa gives football something far more essential: hunger, grit, identity, and passion. Strip football of these traits, and what are you really left with? The AFCON is the purest expression of that spirit. 24 teams across 6 groups, every single one competing to make their mark. And 2025 has started that way. Morocco opened their campaign with ruthless authority. Zimbabwe pushed Mohamed Salah's Egypt until stoppage time. Tanzania stood toe-to-toe with Nigeria, and this all happened within just the first 3 days. The tournament runs right up to January 19. So if this is the opening act, you can just imagine the chaos, the drama and the magic that is yet to unfold. And yet, much of Europe is still watching AFCON from a safe distance.
You have to respect the AFCON the same way you respect the European Championship or World Cup. We understand they scheduled it at the wrong time of the year, but your club can't stop you, and no one should say anything bad about the AFCON.
That frustration isn't random. because Africa actually tried to accommodate Europe. AFCON was advanced from January to December to avoid clashes with the Champions League, to avoid disrupting European club football. For the first time ever, AFCON bent its calendar so that its players and Europe do not have to compromise. But what is it they get in return from Europe or FIFA? The tournament began on December 21st, but players were officially released only on December 15. 5 days to travel, adapt and prepare for a continental tournament. Now let's look at the numbers. This isn't a niche competition. Nearly 60% of AFCON players play outside Africa. From France to Germany alone, over 150 African footballers are involved in the latest edition. So here's the obvious question: why aren't they released earlier for national duty? Is AFCON somehow a tournament that is not important enough? Would clubs dare do this for a European competition? Let's compare. European players effectively got a full month to regroup with their national teams for Euros last year. Even those playing the Champions League final had nearly 2 weeks before the Euros began. No complaints, no resistance, and no club drama whatsoever. So if the Euros are treated with World Cup level importance, why isn't AFCON? Especially when Africa is not just a participant in global football, it is one of its foundations. 60% of Africa's 1.5 billion population is under the age of 25. They live football. They breathe the sport and they grow up dreaming about football. And the connection is only getting stronger. Consider this: nearly 30% of AFCON players are eligible to represent European nations. Yet, they chose Africa. They chose their heritage and identity over what's more convenient. Players understand AFCON's value, fans understand it, the continent knows it. The real question is this: when will FIFA and global football finally acknowledge the same? Look, AFCON doesn't need validation from Europe, but maybe it's about time they did. Because global football needs Africa for its talent pipeline, for its future fans, for its soul. Marginalizing AFCON isn't just disrespectful, it's short-sighted. Because while calendars can be adjusted and leagues can be negotiated, passion cannot be manufactured. And Africa has that in abundance. Look at AFCON and you'll know. All they are saying is this: we do not want the garlands or the pedestals. Just even foothold. Is that too much to ask? The Formula One season is over, but we here at Firstpost will keep you up to speed with every angle and perspective that's emerging from the sport. This one today is on salaries F1 drivers made at the end of the 2025 season. Who made the most? Is there a correlation between the season you had and where you finished in the standings and what you took away? Definitely not. Want to know who finished in the top 2 when it came to the earnings? Lewis Hamilton, the driver who had one of his worst seasons, a horrid debut year for his dream team, Ferrari, still had a financial, fruitful 2025. Our next report explains how.
Lewis Hamilton and winning was always synonymous to each other. And when the dramatic, jaw-dropping announcement of the switch to Ferrari came at the start of 2025, calculations were made, predictions came through. This would be a significant year for two giants in F1 racing, Ferrari and Hamilton. A match that could only spell fire. But we are at the end of 2025 here. And while Ferrari isn't quite feeling the festive spirit, for Hamilton, nothing much has changed financially. So who topped the drivers' charts when it came to monies made this year? It was Max Verstappen. No surprises there. The genius driver may have missed out on the Drivers' Championship by the barest of margins, but he surely made up for that in his earnings. Combining his salary and all the bonuses he's gone home for with a hefty $76 million. The breakdown? His estimated salary is around $65 million, and the bonuses total to $11 million, making it a very successful year for the champion. And who comes in at number 2? Lewis Hamilton. a driver who had 0 podiums this year. Yes, no wins, not even a single podium finish. He came in 6th place overall, with just 156 points to his name. His teammate Charles Leclerc finished a spot ahead of him. So, not a great season for Ferrari and the worst season ever for Hamilton. But here's the thing about Hamilton. He has clearly accrued all the greatness from the years before. Hamilton's beast mode in Mercedes and McLaren all these years is what's helped him get here. So, what did he end up earning nevertheless? $70.5 million with hardly any bonuses. That's right, he's still there. Highest paid driver taking home $70 million. Because that's what brand Hamilton means. He's not just a driver for Ferrari. At least that's not the only reason this union took place. Hamilton comes with a status and a legendary calling card that no other driver in that grid can boast of. And it's not just about the number of titles he's smashed. Hamilton has a global imprint, an impact the world over that clearly translates into his yearly earnings. Ferrari recognizes that. The fact that he's a 7-time world champion is what gives him leverage and will continue to for a while to come. Even if the results column dried up this year, brand Hamilton still soared. The marketability that comes with him is undeniable, and teams like Ferrari value what that brings to sponsorship and merchandise. The fact that he's still number 2 in earnings is testament to a lifetime of elite performances and not down to one horrid season. Lando Norris comes in 3rd, and that's largely owing to his on-track performance and bonuses. His estimated salary is only $18 million, but he raked in close to $40 million on bonuses. His teammate Oscar Piastri and Charles Leclerc, with total earnings of $37.5 and $30 million, round up the top 5 in this list. So clearly in F1, at least one bad year can still not do much to dismantle you. So even though Hamilton was knocked out from the championship table, years of toil, legacy status, and brand value ensured he still rules the financial leaderboard.
Time for Lasse. Football welcomed Christmas in a truly grand way in Berlin. More than 28,000 fans came together at Union Berlin Stadium, turning it into a sea of candles and voices. Christmas carols echoed through the stands as football and festive spirit blended into one unforgettable night. Take a look. That wraps it here on First Sports. Do take care. I'll see you again tomorrow, though. Till then, bye-bye.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point.
Well, we've got all 3 just for you. This is Firstpost Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.
Firstpost now available in 9 languages on YouTube. English,
Stands at $36 trillion.
French,
Le FMI, comme
German,
Geschäftsführenden Direktor,
Hindi,
$30 trillion kakarjo.
Indonesian,
Pemerintah tanpa pemeriksaan.
Italian,
Sekali radikali.
Japanese,
$4 euro.
Portuguese,
Por causa do próprio balanço patrimonial.
Spanish.
Beautiful bill.
Go to Settings, click on Audio Track and select a language of your choice. Be the first to know what's happening around you in your first language. Firstpost.